U.S. President Donald Trump has arrived in Doha for a state visit as part of his Middle East tour. The visit to the Qatari capital comes amid expectations of major investment announcements and controversy surrounding a high-value gift from the Qatari government. Qatar, a key U.S. ally, is expected to unveil plans to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in the United States. Among the anticipated deals is a major order from Qatar Airways for approximately 100 wide-body jets from Boeing, according to a source familiar with the matter. After his visit to Qatar, Trump is scheduled to travel to Abu Dhabi on Thursday to meet with leaders of the United Arab Emirates. While he is expected to return to Washington on Friday, he has suggested he might instead fly to Turkey for a possible meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. U.S. President Donald Trump has held talks with the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, during his visit to Doha. The discussions covered key issues, including the ongoing crisis in Ukraine and the situation in Iran. In addition to the diplomatic talks, the two leaders signed several cooperation agreements in areas such as trade and defense. The agreements are seen as reinforcing the strategic partnership between the United States and Qatar, particularly in strengthening defense and economic ties in the region. U.S. President Donald Trump and Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani have witnessed the signing of a $200 billion deal between Qatar Airways and Boeing, marking the largest jet order in the company's history. The agreement includes the purchase of 160 jets by the state-owned carrier. Speaking at the ceremony, President Trump quoted Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg, saying, "It's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing," and described it as good. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has called for closer cooperation with the United States to reduce regional tensions as the war in Gaza continues to destabilize the Middle East. His remarks came during the U.S. Gulf Cooperation Council summit in Riyadh today. The summit also saw U.S. President Donald Trump push for more Arab nations to join the Abraham Accords normalization agreements with Israel. Trump's visit, marked by grand ceremonies and major deals, included a $600 billion Saudi commitment to invest in the U.S. and $142 billion in American arms sales.
But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy war.
U.S. President Donald Trump has met with Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara in Saudi Arabia ahead of a regional summit with Gulf Arab leaders. The meeting follows an unexpected U.S. announcement lifting all sanctions on Syria's government. President Trump indicated that Washington is considering normalizing relations with Damascus, marking a significant shift in U.S. Middle East policy. The talks took place in the presence of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, underscoring regional efforts to stabilize ties with Syria after years of isolation. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that his administration will lift sanctions on Syria, marking a major shift in American foreign policy following the fall of the Assad regime last December. Speaking at a Saudi investment forum in Riyadh, Trump said the move is aimed at giving Syria a chance at greatness under its new leadership. Trump described Syria as a country that has endured immense suffering but may now be entering a new chapter. He stated that his administration has already begun the process of re-establishing normal diplomatic relations with Syria for the first time in over 10 years. Trump said he reached the decision after consultations with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The United Nations has welcomed President Donald Trump's announcement to lift all U.S. sanctions on Syria. Speaking at a press briefing, UN spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric said the move aligns with the organization's push for sanctions relief to support Syria's reconstruction after over a decade of conflict and underinvestment. Dujarric reiterated support for rebuilding Syria under the framework of Resolution 2254 and emphasized the need for an inclusive Syria where all communities feel safe and represented. The Syrians have voiced optimism following U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement that he will lift sanctions on Syria, a move expected to ease years of economic isolation and hardship. The decision is seen as a turning point for Syria, potentially reopening access to the global financial system, facilitating foreign investment and allowing humanitarian groups to operate more freely as the country begins reconstruction efforts. U.S. President Donald Trump emphasized that while the sanctions had served a purpose, the time had come for Syria to move forward.